This little box, we call it, you can call it a switch. It gets confusing because when you call it a switch, sometimes people think Ethernet switch, call it appliance, whatever's easier for you. But this is the ShoreGear system right here. This little box does all your call setup, call teardown, gives you your dial tone, everything. It runs VxWorks, same thing, it runs analog brakes, pacemakers, your NAS emissions, etc. Mean time of failure on that box is 32.5 years. It's because there's no moving parts other than a cooling fan. If the cooling fan goes out, no big deal. The box will continue to operate. It'll give you an alarm, let you know that, and you'll call up these guys and say, hey, I lost my fan, and they'll replace the switch for you, no problem. Very rare you'll see the switch be replaced though, very rare. They come in several different flavors, anywhere from a ShoreGear 30 to a ShoreGear 220. Now what that number represents is how many IP phones you can have off of that switch. So the one in my box is a ShoreGear 90. So with this box, I could actually support 90 IP phones with no problem. All right? Very, very reliable boxes. And you'll notice we distribute these out at your different sites. Now the reason we do that again is it has flash memory in it as well that has your dial plan and database in it at all times. So if your WAN goes away, guess what? Your switches continue operating as if nothing happened. They continue to make and take your calls, transfers, conferencing. Everything still works. No problem. As you grow your system, you just keep adding those boxes. You'll never do a rip out. You'll never do a forklift. From 10 users to 20,000 users, it's the same system. You just add the boxes, kind of like the Legos. You just stack them up as you need them. All right? IP phones will use your existing Ethernet network. You don't have to go buy the latest and greatest switches out there on the market. If you're running HP, that's fine by us. If you're running Cisco, Brocade, doesn't really matter to us. We're going to come in and run the existing network you have more than likely. Now, if it's a really old switch, we may have to test it and make sure. The one nice thing about some of the newer switches is the power over Ethernet. Power over Ethernet is nice because it'll power the phones remotely, and you don't have to worry about a power injector. You don't have to have them, but personally, I prefer power over Ethernet just because it's a cleaner and easier solution. So that's up to you. But it's just a standard 802.3 AF to power the phones. Every phone has a switch built into the back of it. So you basically unplug your computer, plug that cable into the phone, and run a cable from your phone to your computer. So you still got the one wire to the desktop, and you'll share that connection for your voice and your data at that point. All right. As we mentioned, as you continue to grow, we'll use the WAN when it's available. We don't depend on it. We'll have access to a public switch telephone network at every site for 911, or in case the WAN's down, you can still make local calls. We do have a server in the network. Now that server is really just your voicemail server. It could be a Windows box from Compaq, HP, IBM, doesn't really matter to us. It is a Windows server is all it is, and we put our software on top of it. If that server dies though, guess what? You don't lose your ability to make and take calls, you don't lose your dial tone, none of that. You will lose voicemail temporarily if you don't have a backup, but that's, you're not going to lose your ability to make and take calls. The voicemail server comes with 254 ports of voicemail, meaning 254 people can be checking their voicemail at one time, nobody gets a busy signal. Today you probably have ports of 4, 8. If you spend a lot of money, you may have 12 or 16, but most of them come with 4 or 8 that I see out there today. And we're going to give you 254 out of the box. How much voicemail storage you want to allow on that server is completely up to you and what size hard drive you want to put in that box. It's completely up to you. Again, we don't sell the servers. Whatever you're comfortable with is fine by us. If you're a VMware shop, that's even better. We can run this on VMware with no problem. VMware makes the backup and the redundancy so simple because you just move the image around as you need to in VMware environment. So not a problem. All right, as you grow, if you got people who want to work from home, we've got several solutions for you there. We can actually put an IP phone at their house. It has a built-in VPN client, so you plug it in, it establishes a VPN and starts working. We can do a soft phone where you make your laptop with a USB headset plugged into it, your phone. And we can also do Office Anywhere. Office Anywhere allows me to take any direct dialable number, whether it's my cell phone, my home phone, and yes, I've done this, the payphone at the airport, and made it my ShoreTel extension. As long as I can find a direct dialable number, I can make that phone my ShoreTel extension and control it from my PC just like I was sitting in the office. People would never know the difference. When you called one of your customers, they look at their caller ID, they'll see your office caller ID, not your home or payphone caller ID, so they won't know the difference. You go to your PC, tell it you want to call it, rings you first, you go off hook, then it places the call out for you. The really nice thing about that feature for people who work from home is it's not dependent on your computer network or for your local area network or your wide area network connection from the telephone company, cable company, whatever you're using at home, right? The house I lived in before the one I'm in now worked great over a cable modem. I moved about 5 miles away. Cable modem's horrible, so the IP doesn't work for me there because it's just not, the quality's not good enough. So I use Office Anywhere instead. So now I've got a landline that always has crystal clear voice quality with all the features and functionalities of me sitting in my office with an IP phone. If you have work center agents or call center agents that are working from home, guess what? You can still monitor their calls. You can still report on them, track all their calls. You can still record their calls. You can still have all those features just like they're sitting in the office, even though they're a remote call center agent working for you from home. And then we do have a new feature that I mentioned earlier, we acquired a company called Agito Networks. So what that's allowed us to do is create a mobility solution. So my iPhone, I have a piece of software running on my iPhone where I could get in here, come on there, they have a CRI guest wireless network, Wi-Fi network in here. I could get on it with my iPhone and start making and taking calls, no problem. Just like it was an IP phone, out at my house or wherever. I can do it over their Wi-Fi network. But when I walk out of the building, I lose their Wi-Fi network, right? So it says, oh, we're losing that signal, let's move you over to the cellular network. Moves that call to the cellular network without dropping the call and keeps your call up and you continue down the road driving in your car. When you come back to the office, guess what? You can move it from your cellular phone network back into your Wi-Fi network with no problem as well. So that's the mobility solution. It can go from your office phone to the Wi-Fi to the cellular without ever dropping that call. It's a great feature. We use it all the time and it's been very, very positive. For those of you that have a legacy PBX or TDM PBX, like a big Nortel or Avaya, that you're like, hey, I really want to go to IP telephony, but I can't afford to get rid of this thing. It's still in the books, hasn't appreciated yet. We do give you an option to integrate into it using a T1 tie line. We'll take our T1 device, set it right next to your PBX, do an RJ48 crossover cable between the two. We've just IP enabled your legacy PBX, and it can now talk to all the locations running IP, even though you still have that legacy PBX sitting at one of your offices or headquarters, for example. It's a PRI between the two, so we act as an IP gateway for your legacy PBX. So you have to have a PRI card in your legacy PBX as well, or port available for us to plug into. All right.